Bad weather day, bad offensive day for the New York Jets as they were stunned by the Denver Broncos at MetLife Stadium, 10-9. We got to talk all about it and talk some Jets football. We're going to do it with a host for WFAN. Her name is Danielle McCartan, who joins me now. Danielle, what's going on?
Oh, just enjoying the weather today, huh?
Yeah, great weather, not so great football. And I'm being sarcastic in the weather part. The football was not great, just like the weather was not great on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. And Danielle, when you look at this game, it was an offensive struggle for the Jets. For the first time all season, they do not score a touchdown. What went wrong for the Jets offensively on Sunday?
I mean, everything is the short answer, but we'll take it one by one. Aaron Rodgers, especially in his last two drives today, was clearly not on the same page as his wide receivers. He was throwing the ball, nowhere within 10 yards of them, to be honest. Conklin wasn't even looking back at him. Wilson wasn't looking back at him. And you can't have that in crunch time. That's one. Two, Rodgers was under duress for most, if not all of the game. I think he was quarterback hits, 12 or 13 times, sacked 5 of those times. So the offensive line put in a poor performance together today. 3, when your lead rusher, Braylon Allen, has a grand total of 36 yards, followed very closely by your over 40-year-old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, with 26 yards as the leading 2 rushers on your team, that's also a problem. 3 or 4, what are we even up to? The pre-snap, the post-snap penalties killed the Jets today too, and that to me is a mark of a poorly coached team. And speaking of coaching, you knew this was going to come back to bite them, because not to mention the fact that the Jets were out-coached at the goal line in the second quarter. They had 2 rushes by Breece Hall for no gain. Then they had a pass play, which everything was moving to the right side of the field. At that point, where is the creativity there? Why not give Braylon Allen the big back of the ball to drive it home? Or how about this? I can understand why they would be leery of having a quarterback draw or quarterback sneak in that situation. I get it. But why not be a little creative here? Have any of the big-bodied guys, I know they think they had Solomon Thomas even out there, have him take a direct snap and punch it in that way. It was a game-altering scenario. You felt it at the time, and I think it just showed how the Jets were just completely and utterly outcoached today. The Jets are winning games despite their coaching staff, and today they couldn't overcome the coaching staff today. It was a disaster.
No, it was a disaster offensively. Like I said, no touchdowns. You mentioned the penalties there, Danielle. 13 of them on the day for the Jets. Hard to win a game in the NFL like that. I want to ask you about Aaron Rodgers, who obviously had a rough day, but we saw him get hit late in the fourth quarter, banged up when he came back in. There was some mobility issues. He's limping around a little bit. Considering he's coming off a Achilles tear, right, and recovering off of that, are you concerned with Aaron Rodgers if he has reduced mobility going forward?
I was at the Thursday night game, and every time he got hit, we were all like, is he going to get back up? There's this whole trepidation thing. Even today on TV, he got hit, and they immediately went to the defender. And I was like, no, I need an Aaron Rodgers cam. Is the Aaron Rodgers okay cam? I need that. And listen, I know that Robert Saleh, after the game, in his post-game press conference, he basically said he wasn't too concerned, but I definitely am. Right. And first of all, it's his age. Right. And I don't need to keep going back to that because he's still effective. But at his age, you have to be a little bit more concerned than a younger guy to be able to bounce back. And second of all, the flight to London ahead of him, that's a long flight to be, cooped up. I hope they give him the extra legroom seat on that flight. But if you zoom out altogether, he was under duress for most, again, if not all of the game. And that's the large-scale problem the Jets have been trying to solve for years now. And today, it didn't look great. So is that the norm for this team? Because that's the real concern. That variable of how is that line going to function in London and beyond? That's what I'm more concerned about. He can heal. The Jets have the best doctors, in the country at his disposal and all that. So he'll heal fine, I think. But it's the longer term problem of what is that line going to look like moving forward? Because today, they just simply didn't come to play today.
No, simply did not happen at all whatsoever. It looks really rough. Zach Wilson was in the building. The offense looked like it did when Zach Wilson was there, which is not a good sign. It's not what the Jets fan wants to hear at all whatsoever. Last thing I'm going to ask you, Danielle, because I like to look a little bit big picture here, right? So the Jets, they're 2-2 on the season now after 4 games, but the schedule is going to get a lot tougher. You just mentioned they travel to London next week to play the Vikings. Then they got the Bills at home on Monday Night Football. Then they're in Pittsburgh to face the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. So where are you? How do you assess this Jets team after 4 games? Do you like where they at? Are you disappointed with where they at 2-2? And how do they bounce back moving forward where they have to play much tougher competition?
What a shame, by the way, that Vikings-Jets game is going to be in London, because what a revenge game that would be for Sam Darnold. That's upsetting. And that's part of the reason why I can't stand the international series, but that's just me. But Jets at 2-2 after week 4, I'm disappointed. I figured them to be at least 3-1 at this point in time. I thought the Broncos were going to be a layup. I guess maybe they did too. I don't know. But at least I was expecting them to be 3-1 at this point in time. I can't believe how Bo Nix and his team, without their best running back for most of the game, by the way, beat the mighty Jets. I mean, the Jets, like you said before, couldn't find the end zone. You can't win games in the NFL if you believe in kicking field goals. And I'm not putting this on Greg Zuerlein at the end of the game. A 50-yard field goal, 50-yard try in the rain like it was today, that's not a given. And I know how good Zuerlein has been. So I know Sherwood said on the post game that the Jets had a good practice all week, but to me that's kind of really hard for me to believe, actually, because to me it looked sloppy. It looked as bad as the weather out there. And here's what I would do moving forward. I'll put my coach cap on here. Every single rep at practice moving forward, from the first one until the last one of the season, it needs to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, you do it again, and you keep doing it until it is perfect. And this is obviously not where this team should be at 2-2 right now. And looking ahead, they're going to need to be perfect. Minnesota is pretty good. And a ton of these games in this league built on parity, they've been 1-score games for the most part. And it usually comes down to the team that makes the least amount of mistakes. That's the team that wins. My motto always is practice how you play. And it starts by minimizing the mistakes at practice and perfecting things there so that you can transfer the perfection onto the game field. Because right now, this team doesn't look crisp. It doesn't look in rhythm. It doesn't look like the offense especially is not on the same page. And where does that get corrected? That gets corrected at practice. I'm not sure the Jets are practicing, and I'm not there, but I'm not sure the Jets are practicing as crisp and as perfect as they should be.
Well, the one thing we do know, Danielle, it was not crisp. It was not anywhere near perfect. It was sloppy. I believe that's the word you used. That's how it looked today, just like the weather was at MetLife Stadium. A stunner. The Jets fall to the Broncos 10-9 at MetLife Stadium in week 4, 2-2. Next up, a trip to London where they will play the undefeated Vikings. That is Danielle McCartan. Check her out on WFAN. She does a great job hosting there. Danielle, always a pleasure to break down some New York football with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for always thinking of me. I appreciate it.